When I was 19, a college professor, Mr. Smith, looked me in the eyes and said, "You've got something, Katz." And that sentence changed the trajectory of my life. I didn't have access, I didn't have capital, but I had belief. That belief later in life from Mr. Smith led me to sell companies, lead entrepreneurs organization South Florida, build Premier Protection to safeguard billions in real estate assets, build $100 million real estate portfolio. And today, I'm paying that forward because right now there are tens of thousands of kids in Miami-Dade who don't have a Mr. Smith, that don't have a mentor, but they do have a shot because of today's guests. Lourdes is a powerhouse right here. She's the CEO of Junior Achievement of Greater Miami, where she leads a platform that delivers real-world financial education, entrepreneurship, and career readiness to over 38,000 students. With over 2 decades of executive leadership, she's built strategic partnerships across private enterprise, philanthropy, and education. She helped scale Goodwill South Florida to a $125 million enterprise, launched award-winning media Once in My Life, and she has an impact for nonprofit across South Florida. She's a member of Chief, the National Women's Executive Network, and one of the top connectors in the Miami business and philanthropy community. But here's the real reason you need to hear this from her. 86% of Junior Achievement students say her program directly influenced their decision to go to college. 51% have started or owned a business. 73% are saving for retirement before they even graduated high school. And this isn't happening in elite private schools. 85% of the kids that Junior Achievement serves come from low income to moderate income homes. This isn't charity. It's the most scalable startup accelerator in Miami, and it starts in the 3rd grade. If you're an operator, an entrepreneur, an investor, or a founder, and you actually care about legacy, this is the kind of infrastructure that changes cities. $50 donation funds 12 kids. 1 hour of your time can rewrite their life. This is mentorship, this is entrepreneurship, and impact at scale. So let's get it on, and let's hear Lourdes' story. And later, you're gonna find out how you can get involved.
This was at Cyclops Steel. They were our sponsor for our Junior Achievement Company. He took me in, and I would just go to everybody, and they were like $3 for the cookie tins. And you put a big smile on, and you cook cookies, don't you? You need to, and for $3, I mean, how can you say no? And we did really well. Junior Achievement really was the only outlet, the only place I could go where I could truly learn about business. So going to Junior Achievement, I learned everything. I learned how to incorporate. I learned about all the different roles, the president, the vice president, the treasurer, the secretary, sales and cost of goods sold and production and making products and selling them at a profit and just all these pieces. We literally ran a business. Just that whole concept of the American dream, I think, drives so many kids. Junior Achievement is a good opportunity to understand what it takes to be successful as an entrepreneur in this country.
Lourdes, welcome to the show. Welcome to Real Estate Profit Boost, where we interview the titans of real estate, but not today. We're going to ask the titans of real estate and entrepreneurship to give back to this, right? Because sooner or later, you're going to need some staff, people, and this is where it starts.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
We're building the pipeline and the talent. Yeah.
No, 100%. You have no idea. An entrepreneurs organization, there's 320 members in South Florida alone. Our number one thing, and you hear it, everything, is talent, people. And we call it intellectual capital. And it's impossible. Right. And so if they're not investing in the future, if they're not mentoring, how do you expect to get it?
Exactly.
Right? Because the pool's this big.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Awesome. So welcome to the show. And we know each other through like a strange situation, right? Mm-hmm. That coincidentally, where there was a sponsorship, Valley Bank, and I met with a sponsorship through entrepreneurship organization, and they brought an intern to the lunch. So it was me, I think Jeff, that's his name, from Valley Bank, and an intern. And the next thing you know, it turned out to be Lourdes' son. So it was just, that's how this all started. And then the guy's like, forget Valley Bank, you got to reach out to Jerry. And of course, I got involved in Junior Achievement once I saw the power of it, what it does, and it's and all that good stuff. So Lourdes, you've built brands, you've led creative teams, right? And now you run one of Miami's most impactful nonprofits.
Right.
What's the moment where this became more than a job for you? Let's start with that one.
The minute that I heard the mission, when I heard that it was youth education, primarily financial literacy, I dropped everything. I had been with with my former employer for 23 years. I thought I was going to go kind of, sail into the sunset, and this was it. But I am the daughter of a banker and first generation here. So I know what it takes to get to a new place and start from zero. My dad being a banker, I knew education was very important. And to learn about money was, like the first thing right after that. And so once there was this opportunity that I knew everyone could benefit from the mission and our program deliverables, I said, this is a no-brainer for me. I knew I had to come because I just feel it deep in my heart. This is what the kids need. We all grew, we sometimes ask, what's the one thing you would have wished when you were in school? And, 9 out of 10, I wish I would have learned about money, how to manage money, how to handle it, how to save it, invest it. And our kids don't know that. So when I knew that I had an opportunity to do that, it was a no-brainer for me.
Wow. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I say that all the time, right? Like, how do you expect to go out into the world where the monetary system controls the world, right? And I have a saying to my friends, like, sometimes when you talk to certain people and you start talking about money, they think, money, 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 whatever. But there's an old saying, right, that I say, money's like oxygen. If you don't have enough, you can't breathe, right?
Right.
And the bottom line is everything that we do, whether it's a nonprofit, a business, a school system, everything revolves around this system of money that has been created. But yet, at the level of grade school, middle school, and high school, yeah, there's basic classes, right?
Right.
But how do you send a child into the world if you don't understand how money works,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah.
It's
And
Yeah, it's just really important because we underestimate what kids know. I think everyone at an early age knows that money is important, right? You either have it, you're struggling for it, or you don't have it. And so that is, obviously it's currency, what's going to get you places. So even we start our classes in kindergarten, and you'd be surprised how kids in kindergarten, what they know about money at that age. We've just never stopped to ask them, but they really start to learn at that age the difference between wants and needs. And we teach them something. Somebody says to me, how do you teach a kindergartner about money? And we
Mhm.
say, it's about, wants and needs. So we'll show a picture of a sandwich, and then we'll show pictures of candy. And then we'll say, which of these is a want and which is a need? And so they know. They know. We ask them, where do you think money comes from? And then he'll say, the bank, my parents, the tree. We don't know.
Right.
And so, you have those conversations early on. And when you start to see their reaction to it and a very basic understanding of something that is good, there's nothing more useful than they're going to ever learn in school with the programs that we teach than money.
Right. No, I agree hands down, right? Like when you start to hang out with an entrepreneurial environment and these speakers that I speak with and everything like that, they all have this kind of conspiracy theory. I know it's so crazy, but you're disrupting it right now, that the school systems, right, were designed to produce employees, right?
Yes.
I've heard
Right.
that so many times, and it starts with the teacher, right? Because the teacher really never learned about money. And in a public school system, right, you have pension plans, you have 401ks, you have health insurance. And so the mindset of the teacher, which is technically the mentor, and I'm not saying we don't need great teachers, and obviously the teachers have different impact in arts, science, music, whatever, all these things, and teachers can change your life, right? About everyone that I've interviewed on this Real Estate Profit Boost had a mentor or a teacher or a professor that changed their lives. But when you go back to the conspiracy theory, like these entrepreneurs say that the schools are not teaching financial literacy, they're not
Hmm.
teaching mindset, right? On understanding how to grow, how to do this. But what they're teaching is, how to become like an
An
employee
employee.
mindset. Correct. Right. So obviously you at that level, tell us, is it true? Right? Because
Well,
there's an, go ahead.
there's a saying, and I'm not, an educator, by trade, but there is something that says if it doesn't get tested, it doesn't get taught. And so you don't get tested on money or the use of money, and so it doesn't get taught. And so that's why our programs are embedded into the school system. So the way that we operate our programs is we go through volunteers, people in the community like you. You go into the classroom, and this isn't an after-school program. This isn't on the weekends. This isn't summer camp. This is embedded in their school day. So between their K through 12, in their school day, we go in there and we teach them this. And what we really try to do is, number one, pique their curiosity so that they could start to see some relevance between what you learn in school and application in real life. Because sometimes you're sitting there learning about chemistry and you're learning about this and that, and you're like, when am I ever going to use this again in my life? But when we come in here and we teach about money and how to use it's basically, how to earn it, spend it, use it, and share it, spend it, share it, and earn it. And those are very things that everybody can relate to. And so that's really what we want to do. Our special edge here in Miami is entrepreneurship. That's really where we spend a lot of our time and a lot of our core programs is they basically become entrepreneurs while they're in school. It's our 9th through 12th program, and they come up with a product or a service, and they have to assign CEOs, CFOs, logistics, planning, all of those things, how to manage their team, how to manage people. You have HR issues that come from a classroom. And so they spend the whole school year developing that as a business. And the idea
Awesome.
is whether you're going to go to college or not, when you graduate with our programs, you will know how to be an entrepreneur. You will understand principles of money. You will know how to invest. You'll learn about credit cards. You'll learn how to save. You'll learn how to budget. And so what we're doing is moving the needle so that everyone can be successful. Doesn't matter what zip code you come from. And because you come from poverty does not mean you have to stay in poverty. We're teaching you the tools that you need to succeed. And that's really the premise. And it's just basically, our mission is very simple, is, helping youth succeed in a global economy, whatever that means
Right.
for you.
No, I love it. And I love what you just said. Like, if it's not tested, it's not taught, right? So it's not part of the curriculum, right? Like math, science, all that. It's not tested, it's not taught. All right, awesome. So, no, I completely understand. Just out of curiosity for me, Jerry Katz personally, right? When you approach the school district like Miami-Dade or an individual school, did they just allow you in, or what's the feedback like? Or is there a political thing to get in, or you follow? Because
Well,
why don't they have their own programs, for example?
right.
Yeah,
Well, not everybody could be, we are the leaders. When I say so Junior Achievement is a worldwide organization that's been around over 100 years. And so we are the experts and the leaders when it comes to youth education and financial literacy. It's what we do, right? Our product and our service is the curriculum that we offer. And so we are all over the world. And so we're set up almost like franchises, if you will, federated. So I'm responsible for Miami and the Keys. And what happens is each junior achievement establishes the relationship with their school district. Now, Miami is unique in that we're the third largest district in the entire country after New York and LA. Miami is the largest school system, right? So the good news is I have one school system to deal with. And the bad news is I have one school system to deal with, right? So all of our eggs are in that same basket with the district. So it's
got
imperative
it.
that our relationship is a good one. So we do have a signed MOU. So we are a signature partner where when it comes to financial literacies, we are their partner. So we go in, the teachers sit down, we take over the class, we teach the financial literacy, and then we're done. And then we kind of go on our merry way. So that's why we do that. We've developed, the reputation, the credibility, our curriculum is state of the art. It's a system that works, and that's why they do it.
Got it. No, rock and
Yeah.
roll. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
realize Miami-Dade, they're the third largest
They're
in the country.
largest.
Right, but
Yeah.
there's only one school district, so you have
But
one
there's one school
partnership.
district.
Right.
Exactly.
So are you the third largest junior achievement in the country
No,
running
we're
it?
not. No,
No.
no,
Okay.
no.
Still New York? Still whatever?
Well, what happens is, so you'll have a CEO who's responsible for an entire state, and they might have 14 school districts, but their school district to be a school district of 8,000 students or
Got it.
22,000 students or, or whatever, 30,000. We're 322,000 students. And so
Wow.
it's just, and in Florida, there's 8 junior achievements. So we have one in Orlando, we have one in Tampa, we have in,
Right.
Jacksonville, West Palm. So we're really divided by territories, but the functionality of what we teach could be different. So our neighbors in Broward are more about work readiness, right? We're a little bit more about entrepreneurship. And so different junior achievements have something that would mirror what is needed in their community. And so, like you said a little bit earlier, with all the transformation that's happening in Miami with fintech and just so many corporations coming down to Miami, we have the responsibility to make sure, like you said, that we're developing the talent and that the kids in Miami who are from Miami, that they stay in Miami and that they're hired in Miami. And so we're really upping the ante, and we're going to produce students that are worth hiring and that are going to stay in Miami to make Miami prosper. So it's really all a continuum where we're all, like you said earlier, we all help each other, and we have to think about the pipeline and the workforce, in the next few years, and make sure that our students rise up to the occasion and that they are not people that are brought from other sides, or that our people, our students leave, but they stay in Miami because they have the skill set they need to succeed.
By the way, so obviously, the biggest challenge we have in South Florida is intellectual capital, right? And now that with I don't know if you saw King Griffin Citadel coming into Miami, and then he just bought that $77 million parcel of land by the port. What's going on is, I know because on the Citadel side, in the private schools, they're moving their headquarters to Miami. And based on that, they have a problem. So they have 400 students that they don't know what infrastructure to drop in and schools. So there's a Pinecrest school up here in Broward that's overloaded now with Citadel schools, right? And it's funny because these New Yorkers or these people from Chicago, they're coming down and they don't have the confidence to drop them into the public school system. Florida's junior achievement is teaching kids about money, credit, investing from middle school. So there's a misconception sometimes in the entrepreneurial community because we tend to mentor at a university level. What are they actually absorbing, right? At that level? Yeah. Tell us about that, or let's disprove the misconception, because I've seen it in person myself. So go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we start with, as I said earlier, we start with the little ones, and it's really kind of money and your town. So you start to understand the concept of an economy with their town, right? You say there's the milkman, there's the small. And then as you graduate, then it becomes, money and your city, money and your state, money in your country, money in the world. And so what happens is you're understanding the economies of scale, or the economies as they grow to more complex things, but in ways that they can relate. And so some of our exercises they'll have dollars, like play money, and then they'll have to go kind of and buy this. So you can't afford that. Oh, but I really want that bike. Oh, but that bike is $150. For your birthday, you got $75. Now you have choices, right? You can buy a skateboard for $75, but you want a bike, or you can wait to get the bike and save the money, do chores and get the money so you can save it to get your bike, or you can borrow the money from your brother.
Right.
So you have choices, right? So you start to kind of see the mentality, and you start to see the mindset, and then you ask each kid what they want to do. And then that's the kind of the conversation. So they know it's not, an all or nothing. It doesn't mean it's hopeless. Right. You got a plan.
And you're even bringing debt in. You say you give them a choice of bringing debt and loans, right? So you're borrowing from your brother, and if you borrow from your brother, you got to pay back with this. But then where do you get the money to pay him back?
And you got to do chores, yeah.
Right, you do the chores. Yeah. That's the income stream. You get debt, so you're giving them a little mini economy at that level, right? That's right. Yeah, right. I don't even think a game exists at that level. Like my kids, they play games or they play apps on the phone today, or whatever you want to call it. They don't get it, because I'm the guy that had to, I remember when I was taking my son to 5th grade, every day I used to stop at a Starbucks in the morning right up the street here, because I would be the one to drop them off. And every morning I would show them how stocks work, right? Just how the stock market works, because I'm investing in stocks, the Dow, the S&P, all that. And then one day this woman tapped me on the shoulder, and she happened to be a very high level judge, right? Like the highest in Broward County at that time. And she looks at me, she goes, I didn't want to say something. I said, what? She goes, I've been watching you every morning for 2 months teach your kids about the stock market. And then she's like, you just have no idea. Number one, you're a great father. Thank you. And number two, the impact that you have this. And then she turned around and she asked my kids, they were in 5th grade and one was in 7th at that time. And she asked them, what's the S&P 500? Oh, that's 500 of the largest companies traded on an index. I go, and my kids were like, so it felt good. I did it because my dad didn't do it. My dad worked all the time. We were immigrants, right? He didn't have time to do it. I was lucky if I saw him by 9 p.m., right? Because we were too busy keeping up. They had to pay the bills, right? And then my grandparents, who took care of us during the day when my mom was literally doing nails for cash and my dad was learning the language at a gas station. They're both engineers. Our grandparents did it. So we didn't get that education, all, about the money, this, that. So it's interesting how those little impactful moments
Absolutely.
change, right? And another
Yeah.
thing that I'll bring up to a lot of these entrepreneurs, right? Or you can probably answer this. What's the definition of luck,
Right.
right? So I was always
Yeah.
taught luck, right? They tell you, "Hey, Jerry's lucky." I don't think so. It comes to education, right? And when education fills up, right, there comes an opportunity walking. But if you're not educated and prepared, you don't see the opportunity. So without a basic education, you can't get
Right.
lucky, right? Especially in
Correct.
entrepreneurship. Right. So that's where
Yeah.
I see JA is leading those fundamentals. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I had heard a definition which I always remember is luck is experience waiting to happen.
There you go.
So there you go. And then another quote that's always stuck by me is, it's funny that the more I practice, the luckier I get. Right.
That's right. No, it's a
You got to practice, you got to practice. But I think what you said is exactly right. So when we purposely start to deliver our programs in low to moderate income families, right? For the same reasons, there may not be role models at home. They may not have ever seen somebody dressed up in a suit going to work. Mom and dad might be working two jobs, being raised up by, by
yep.
grandma or whatever it is, a lot of kids in the home. And so these are the kind of experiences. And we always say you change their path and you change their life, because one experience can change the trajectory of where they're going. And that's really what junior achievement does. And so our goal is to give them hope. And you said it when you were a guest at my event. And you said very poignantly, the best investment you can make is in yourself. No one is going to take that away from you. And so that really is what the goal is. So I talked to a teacher when I first started, because I wanted to go into the schools. And I said, at what point do kids know they're, let's say, poor, right? Or of lower income? And then they
Interesting
said, are
question.
they already starting to see differences at that age? And the answer was when they're about 6 or 7 years old. And I
100%.
said, what is it that they see? And then he goes, they start out with behavioral problems. That's how it starts. They start acting out behavioral problems. And then I said, and what do you attribute that to be? And then it says 8 out of 10 times, lack of parental involvement at home. So that's really where this starts to happen. So when we have a volunteer who's coming in kindergarten, when these kids are starting out their academic life, and you're already getting in there and you're teaching them something that is hopeful, something that I can change this. My mom and dad may not have this right now, but I can change this. That's really impactful. You're
No,
not
100%.
changing just that kid's life, but you're changing their families, because those kids will go home and share what they learned to their families. And I have on our company video, we put that in there where he says, I'm looking forward to this because this is changing my life. But when I go home, I teach my parents what I learned about here, about the
If
stock
they'll
market,
listen.
about investing, if they'll
Right.
listen. Yeah.
Right.
But a really interesting story is that we have this entrepreneurial mentoring where we have these really, mentors that are really, and I want entrepreneurs specifically because, the grind, right? You know what it takes. You have your failures and your successes, and that's kind of how you get to where you are. And the entrepreneurs are intimidated going in front of the students and the teachers because they're like, I don't know what to do. How do I talk to these kids? And then on the
I get
flip
it.
side,
Yep.
you have the teachers intimidated by the entrepreneurs because they've never been in front of really successful people in business. So
That's
it's really an
crazy.
interesting
And see,
dynamic.
for me, that's
And a lot of
I love
times,
that stuff. I get
yeah,
fun. I love to talk to the kids. I love to talk to the students. And me, I'm never intimidated, right? Like I feel like
right.
boom. And I know kind of to bring myself down to like the audience level so they can connect
Right.
with me,
And
right?
they can relate to you.
And they can relate
Yeah.
to me, right? And like you said,
Yeah.
like, by the way, like, so for me, I knew at 6 years old, my family was broke, right? Because I couldn't
Yeah.
keep up with my peers, right? So,
And
or
the
I could,
sneakers and the clothes
and the
and yeah.
sneakers and the clothes, and nobody came to a birthday party, and my parents had to save forever just to have a pizza party, right? So they know at an early age their social economic level, and today probably even quicker through all the social media and things like that. So
Yeah.
they know quickly, what, at least for me. And by the way, not everybody. So for me, I had a little story where no one came to my birthday party. I was an immigrant. My parents saved all this money at 6. I don't know what kicked in for me, but that insecurity, that not having enough as my friends, and later that I couldn't go to private camps. They went to camps, they went skiing, this, we were the
The
immigrants.
scarcity. Yeah.
Right. So for me, that insecurity was a good thing, It drove
Right.
me, right? But
Right.
not everybody's like that. It shuts
No.
down. And the only reason I know that is probably because my grandfather was at home with me and he was the one that would have the talks, right? Because he was like a black marketer in Russia under communism, which is today an entrepreneur, right? And things because you had to, otherwise you couldn't survive in communism. So he was the one having those talks in my ears, like, don't worry, you can do this. So that overcoming came from him because obviously
Right.
in communism you can't move and stuff. And the other comment that I wanted to make right to the audience here, a little bit back to that luck and with my kids and why I realized that this whole thing is so impactful. Another small story is I'm driving in the car with my son down by you, by Brickell. And my son looks over and goes, Dad, look at that vacant storefront, right? I go, yeah, I think there used to be a chicken kitchen right there on the back of the Brickell City Center. He goes, Dad, look around. What? 6 blocks, there's no pizza restaurants. I'll bet you the average car count on this street is 58,000 cars there today. Look at the office buildings. I go, what are you trying to say? He goes, well, pizza has a high margin. That place is small and cheap to rent. And you know what? We could probably make a killing. And this is a 16-year-old, right? And I look
Yeah.
at him and I'm like, let's go back to the luck concept, right? How did my son see the opportunity that was presented right in front of his nose? Because he's been
Right.
listening to me, right, for a
Absolutely.
decade.
Absolutely.
And then,
Yep.
right. And then what will happen is, okay, let's open that little pizza place. And we have a huge, grossing $1 million pizza place with a margin. And then everybody looks back and says, that kid's lucky, right? His
No.
dad,
Yeah.
he's not lucky. He's prepared. He has the skills. He sees the opportunity and he
Yep.
moves. But if you don't
Yep.
have that preparation, if you don't have that mentorship, if you don't have that environment that you're living in, it's not happening.
Right.
So that's another impact. So how do you get that to a low income household, right? Unless you have a
Yeah.
program like Junior Achievement or a
Right.
mentor or just getting these kids up and coming to a speaking event with a successful entrepreneur and so on. So
Yeah.
I
No,
see
it's
it.
just it really is to everybody listening, it's like you have a skill set and you have things that you have learned, your experience that you might take for granted, but that is so valuable to the next kid, somebody who's just starting out. You can just say one thing to one kid and change their life. I have another little story, and when I was teaching the stock market, it was a bunch of juniors.
Mhm.
And when I got in there, the kids are disconnected. They're not engaged. They're slumped over. They're put their hoodie on. They're checked out. It's just, and so there was a kid I started to teach the class, and I'm talking about investing, right? That this is for the long haul. This is like, you invest now. And if you had bought, Apple stock back in the day, how many millions would you have now? Whatever it is.
Right.
And the kid had his head down and he was asleep, like sleeping. And I was teaching the thing. So I asked the teacher and I said, what do you do with students like this? And the teacher's like, I just let them go because I gotta pay attention to the ones that are awake and are paying attention. But because I was there for the day, right? I was like, I'm not going to let this kid do that. So I tap him on the head and I said, hey, I need you to wake up. You're in class.
Right.
And then I said, I am teaching you about money. Do you care about money? Are you interested in money? And he goes, yeah. And I go, why aren't you paying attention? He goes, because I don't get it. And I said, okay, I'm going to teach it to you. So very quickly, while the rest of the class was doing their worksheets, I sat and I explained how do you buy stocks, what the value is, what the ticker stock. Look, Jerry, in 3 minutes, the kid got it. He understood it. He had his calculator out. He was buying stock. He was understanding what it was. And that was because I tapped him on the head and I said, you need to pay attention to this, right?
Well,
I
no,
don't
you know
know
what
what
you
the-
did, Lourdes? You freaking disrupted the teaching system because the comment from the teacher now, like, I'm like, really? Like, that's what's going on in my head, right? That
Yeah,
teacher said,
right.
oh, listen, I'm only going to talk to the kids that are engaged. The ones that got the
That are
hoodie
paying
on
attention.
are paying attention, engaged in the conversation. I can't rescue them, right? So there you go. This is a big thing, right? For me, first of all, it's not cool, right? I love the fact that you saved the day in 3 minutes. Okay. You want to know why? Because you wanted to. It's that simple. And this is what I say about to my kids. I say to my peers. I say to everybody that 9 out of 10 people, whether they're teachers, CEOs, accountants, lawyers, service people, they don't give a shit, right? And that's the biggest problem. And I always say, like for me, like, I have to go through 10 plumbers to get to one that actually cares and teachers that actually care. So why am I bringing this full circle? The people that are involved in Junior Achievement, first of all, it's a nonprofit, right? The people like
Yeah.
Lourdes, they give a shit, right? That's why she's running this. She could be running a $300 million freaking marketing company, right? And getting paid a lot more
Yeah.
than what she's doing. So it's the point is, it's the people that care about the legacy. It's the people that actually, teachers that really care, save children, right? They change lives. And that's what I heard clearly there, right? So she
Yeah. Yeah.
cares, right? And the organization cares. And if organizations do not exist, like Junior Achievement, unfortunately, in my expertise, 90% of the masses, they always have an excuse like that. They're not listening, so I'm not going to teach them. That's like me saying, you know what? The economy's bad, so I'm not going to open a business and make payroll for my employees, right?
Yeah.
They take that victim attitude. So I don't get it. But see, the difference is when you sponsor an organization like Junior Achievement, everybody in there, they're not here to make a fortune working at Junior Achievement, right? They barely get by because they're passionate and they care. And that's what really impacts the difference, right? And that's
Yeah.
why the programs like this, like even that day when I was there for Wall Street, right? I gave this story. By the way, I got like 9 kids from that day still following me on my Instagram. There's one in
Nice.
particular who literally comments on my stuff, reaches out. He said, how do I get
Awesome.
a mentor? Right. And listen, I may have spoken in front of, I don't know how many kids were there, 50, 60, maybe 100, I think, even more, right? But the point,
200.
there was 200 kids there when I was speaking. Okay, they do a Wall Street event. But when I stood in the hallway, there was at least 25 to 30 kids that came over just to talk to me. And I'm there. That's what I'm there for, right? Asked me questions, asked me this, followed me on social channels. And by the way, they're still here following me. So for
Yeah.
me, again, obviously I love Junior Achievement and what they do because the people that are involved in Junior Achievement, they're doing it for the right reasons. They want to give
Yeah.
impact. She's not paying me to be on this podcast. She didn't pay me to go down to there. But the point is for me, that's one of the reasons I also created my personal brand, Jerry Katz CEO, right? Why am I doing this, right? I'm doing it at scale, just like she is, right? With the 3rd largest school district in the country, right? And I think you served 38,000 students last year.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you
Yeah.
do it at scale, you're actually having impact. That's the difference. That's why I love it. So my little Instagram post or my little motivational video, you don't even know what's going on, but you're changing somebody else's life there. And when you speak in a
Exactly.
room with children, 200, they may not come up to you. That's what I've learned and ask. But there's going to be one little thing they took away, right? One thing, not everything that you taught, and you have a massive impact. And I've actually had people find me from a decade ago, right? That I spoke at FIU and stuff today. And 2 of them actually work here from
Yeah.
a speaking
You
event
just,
that I did 10 years
right.
ago at FIU Leadership. They still remembered me. They found my name on social. So I'm just putting that all together.
It's a big impact. And I think that what you're saying is I'm using more and more the word social investing, right? Because you guys are, you're investors, right? That's what you do. But imagine if with the wealth or the interest and the legacy that people want to do, if they do social investing, there's no better definition of social investing than in Junior Achievement because our investment are the students and they are the future. And so the dividends are the kids.
Right.
So if you have, and the way that I'd like to see it, many people, I've been in the nonprofit for a long time. Many people know that nonprofits do good for the community. They may not know the difference between one or the other, but overall, nonprofits do good for the community. Okay. What I want all the listeners to understand is that do your research, align yourself with a nonprofit whose cause is meaningful to you and get to know them because nonprofits are the bridge between the people who want to do good and the people who need us to get
Right.
the
Love that.
mission of So nonprofits are the bridge, but we don't have the resources. We don't have the human resource, intellectual resources, and we don't have the capital to do the world's hardest, most needed social work. We are the ones who do that, and we can't do it without the support of the community who believes in making the community all elevate and all rise at the same time. And so
Love it.
I'm in a place where I can put more people and more programs on in the South, like in the Homestead area, Florida City area, the Keys, Middle Miami. next week, I can put in more programs. I can't do it. Why? I don't have the resources. I need to build capacity. I need to hire more people. I need to do all those things. My hands are tied. I'm doing the best that we can. But if people knew that you gave recurring gifts, a recurring donation to a nonprofit where you can plan your business with income that you can kind of count on,
No, of course.
I can put that into programs. When I see, the millions of dollars that people have, if not knowing is the reason why you're not investing back into your community, into not knowing, then get to know your nonprofit. Call me, follow me on LinkedIn. I'm all about making connections. And it's not even just junior achievements, it's nonprofit as a whole. Last
No,
week,
I love what you said. You said it's the people that want to do it, right? That that help the people that need it the most, right? So,
and they don't know how to do it. That's what we do.
right. I
We
mean,
are the bridge.
that's the
We are the
bridge.
bridge.
I
I am
mean,
the
that
bridge.
was huge, those words for me, right? It clicked for
I
me.
know yes, that's it. I am the bridge. I'm not here asking you for money. I'm asking you, how would you like to help give back? This is how I can help you because I know who needs it. I have the system, I have the infrastructure, I have the knowledge, I have the product. I could execute to it. You have the capital, you have the money, and you have the will to pay back and leave a legacy. I'm the middleman. I'm the one that can make that happen. Many of the mentors that I spoke to said, I want to give back, but I don't have the time to start my own nonprofit. I don't know how to even where to start. Don't spend your time or money on that. There are nonprofits in place. Help support the nonprofits who then turn around and solve the world's biggest social issues. That's really what it is. That's really what the role of a nonprofit is. We're the most resourceful nonprofit leaders, they've said, are the most noble people. Not that I'm not talking about myself, but just gives you an idea. And you mentioned it, right? Yeah, we could be making money, a lot more money somewhere else, but the nobility in what we do with very little, such important work. And we're just very, very resourceful. And we just try to do as much as we can.
Right. You got to be
And
nimble.
that's what the support from the community does. If I can sit here and I want to double my organization, the amount of impact and students that we touch, imagine 320,000 students in Miami-Dade, and I'm scratching the surface at 38,000. If I had more money and I had more people and I could build capacity, as you would an investment, invest in me, let me get my systems in place, let me get my people in place, let me impact more change. You're going to be happy with my results, with the ROI. And then over time, I just create more impact. And what does that mean? That means confident, financially secure students that are graduating, that are proficient, that are going to go to college. Another statistics that we have, the students who went through junior achievement already know what they want to study, and they stay in the field of study once they graduate. They understand savings. They understand 401k. They understand what all
No,
that
I love it.
means.
Right. And for me, like, I just had an aha moment when you said that because it's the people that want to do it. So when we go back to that teacher that's a public employee, right? And I'm not saying we don't need good teachers. She said her answer to you was, if they're not listening, I'm not going to save it. I'm going to work with the people that listen. So that's the bridge, right? You want to do this. She doesn't have to do this, right? And by the way, she's scaling out a business is what she's doing. She's the CEO of the organization. So it's the same thing, just like me. She needs revenue. She needs systems. She needs process. She needs metrics. She needs reporting. Because if she can't prove that this has a return on investment, she can't do it.
Correct.
Right. And by the way, I sell insurance. I buy real estate. I collect rents. That's my income stream. Her income stream is you. So you realize how
That's it.
nimble she has to be. And when you're the CEO of the company, really, my main role, just like hers, is really a rainmaker, right? I'm really a chief revenue officer because we know as an entrepreneur and her running the nonprofit, which is the same thing in its same form, is that sales is the driver of everything, right? Without revenue coming in the door, there is no organization, there's no nonprofit, there's no premier protection insurance. So for me, what my saying is sales fixes all problems. Why? Because then I have capital, which can get me intellectual capital that can get me systems processes to deliver an ROI. So it's actually to some degree probably more difficult in the nonprofit world than it is in the profit world. Why do I say that? Is because in Entrepreneurs Organization, which I'm the ex-president, 4 years ago, we made a new category for nonprofits. So we chose as a global organization in 54 countries, our criteria used to be to enter Entrepreneurs Organization, you had to have a business that first of all met our core value systems, right? Trust and respect, thirst for learning, give back to the community. But more importantly, 2.5 million in revenue. Okay. That was the minimum quality to get to our peer group. So as of right now, we now have a new classification. If you are the founder of a nonprofit or an operator of a nonprofit that has a budget of a minimum of $10 million, you are welcome into Entrepreneur Organization. So Chad Bernstein, good friend of mine, was the first in the United States here. It's called Guitars Over Guns, right? And he's considered an entrepreneur, right? But
Yeah.
he's working in the world of nonprofits. So with that being said, Lourdes, what's your average annual budget? Give me some numbers, just curious.
We're at about a $2 million nonprofit.
A $2 million,
So
right.
a $2 million nonprofit, which is very small, very, very small. And so again,
Well, it's
for
not
the
that
third
small
largest school
because
system,
junior achievement is
well,
huge, right? We're just talking about for
yes,
one county.
just Miami. Yeah,
Chad is in 5 states, okay?
right,
He's not regional, right? She's serving just that
right.
so on. So you're about a $2
Just
million
Miami.
budget, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
how is, because this is what people, when you go to ask money in a nonprofit, they start asking just like they did for me, right? What are your financials? Let me see the offering memorandum. What's your NOI? What's your ROI, right?
Right,
But it's it.
right.
So out of that $2 million budget, what is the majority? What's your largest expense? Just curious. Salaries, right? Because you got to get people to work there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So nonprofits are kind of held to a different standard. And so everything that happens in a nonprofit is program delivery. Without
Right.
staff, without, electricity, without, computer systems, things like that, we cannot deliver programs. And so, what I'm trying to do is when I say this is the cost of doing business is to hire people who can deliver on these programs. Without people, I can't deliver programs. So salaries is always going to be that, but it needs to be perceived as part of the program delivery. Salaries is not extra. It's not like it's not going to mission. No, we are the mission. It's part of the mission. And so it all has to be integrated like that. And so what we want to do is, our revenue buckets come from individual givers, foundations and grants, corporate giving and sponsorships, and events. That's really how we generate our revenue. I'm trying to really develop the individual giving, and I'm looking at entrepreneurials, because when you're dealing with, corporate sponsorships is great. I love that. That's my bread and butter. And we have relationships. Most of the banks, most of the law firms, most of the accounting companies, we have relationships. Those are our bread and butter. They're our friends. They are supporters. We love them. But for me to really scale on a bigger level, I'm looking for the entrepreneurs. I'm looking for people who can invest on a large scale, so then I can continue to do my thing. We're launching 2 new innovative programs now.
Oh, that's great. So listen, our client base or our audience, right? First of all, we're only halfway through, but I want you guys to know, right? Junior Achievement, Miami.ja.org, right? That's where it is. You can go to that website. You can find Lourdes, in the descriptions below here on YouTube. You can find it all. But her ask right now, it's not about money all the time, right? She needs mentors. She needs volunteers. So our audience is high net worth commercial real estate entrepreneurs, startups, and everything like that. You want to give back. You want to feel great. You want some legacy. It's right here. So don't forget, mid-through, go there. Do it now. Sign up. I'm a mentor there. I'm in the classroom with the kids. And I can't tell you that, like for example, even the day that I was at Wall Street, I went down to Brickell. I left my office. I spent 3-4 hours there. It was probably the best day in the last month, right? And it's not because, and by the way, I had a record October business. We broke all records. But I left that day coming back to the office energized, refreshed, giving back. By the way, I didn't pick up my phone for 3 hours.
Hopeful. Yeah.
I came back hopeful, and you feel like a rock star, right? And it changes their lives. So I just want you to know to right now, reach out. That's all it takes, right? Go to miami.ja.org. Everything's in the description, and volunteer your time. Not because, you know what? Call it selfish. I do it because how I feel.
Makes you feel good.
Right.
Makes you feel good.
That's what it's about. And I tell
it's
you,
a win-win.
It's a win-win, and you'll make $1 million every month. Relax. Now go help some kid and tell me what the difference is in the feeling, right? About making an extra $1 million or making an extra $100,000 or whatever it is, opposed to changing it. And then when they continue to reach out, right? And I'm just telling you, that feeling becomes addictive. Call it mattering,
Yeah.
feeling important. I don't know. So, but it
Yeah,
works.
no, it's
Yeah.
just it's very fulfilling. And there's a lot of people on my board and just people, again, high net worth individuals that I come across. Um, and I'm surprised at how many are at a place where it's just time for me to give back. There comes to a time where I have the cars, I have the yachts, I have the travel, I have all this, but I want to be able to give back. There's one of our board member who's like, again, you've heard it from the Warren Buffetts, the Bill Gates, they want to give away all of their wealth, right?
Right.
By a certain amount of years after everything's taken place. And their job is to find the best places where they can give their money away that is going to make the biggest difference in what's important to them.
No,
And
100%.
so it really is an idea of social investing. And you can start small, right? You don't have to go big. You could start again with volunteers. And the program that you're talking about is called the entrepreneurial mindset. And so the minimum requirement there is 4 90-minute sessions between now and April. And I think anybody can find 4 90-minute sessions.
Yeah, I did 10 hours in the last quarter for the Honor Foundation, right? Which is military vets and training. So I find the time, and that's it. But let's talk some really real numbers, right? What does $50 actually do inside Junior Achievement's world? Give me the ROI on that impact, because I know on the website you can go and give $50 and it says you'll fund 12 students.
Right.
Right.
Right. And so what we do is we have our costs, we have all our programs. And so what we do is we look at our budget and all our program offerings, and then we know how much that program costs us. So when we're looking for fundraising, then that's what you tell me, oh, I want to fund the student managed investment fund, or I want
Hmm.
to do the stock market challenge. And so all those funds will go to offset that program.
Got it.
So so we have it where, was it $10,000 will give you, provide 200 students with hours of financial training.
Oh, that's
And so
awesome.
that's really what it is. We have some programs that are higher individual contact hours. So that means we spend more time with that student. So you get more impact. And then we have less impact compact hours, but then you have more students. So you can go speak in front of 200 students and you'll talk to them for 1 hour. Or you can be a mentor in a semester long courses and invest more time. Those individual contact hours are going to be higher because you're going to go to the same 25 students and you're going to be in front of them, FaceTime, much longer than an hour,
I wonder if there's a
right?
tax
So
rule to that. Like, say, like if I someone, I think there is. I'm just off the top of my head. I'm going off the path here. If I volunteer 10 hours, isn't there a way for me there's some kind of tax deduction there? Just curious. We'll look into that for the next podcast.
I, I
I
know
think
that
there
I
is.
know that I know that in the banking industry, they have what's called the CRA, I think
Right.
Community Revitalization Act or something, that you have to spend a certain number of hours back. And so a lot of our banks work with nonprofits and they do get that. And
Right.
it is a requirement.
There's something out there with
But
that.
yeah, I'm not sure.
So out of the 30, you work with about 38,000 students a year, right? Give me the one story that still gives you goosebumps today.
I mean, the one that I remember a lot is that one that I said earlier about the kid who was kind of sleeping and I kind of
Right.
got him engaged. And there was another one where a girl, for some way, well, we know why, but sometimes, women and girls aren't necessarily see themselves either as entrepreneurs or things, especially when you're a student in terms of finance and things like that. And so we obviously want to change that. So we came up with a program called Junior Achievement Rising Women, where we paired up 50 professional women. We had started women in finance or entrepreneurs, but then there were
Hmm.
so many women that wanted to be a part of it. So we just opened up to executive, professional women. And then we paired them with 25 middle school girls and 25 high school girls. And we
Wow.
paired them. And this wasn't where it's like a panel of women and then the girls are there. No, they were matched. They sat next to each other and they went over personal budgeting, and we gave them a profile. This is what you do. You're married, you have 2 kids. And so they had to kind of make it work on a personal budget. And I remember one thing that made me laugh was the girl said, do I have kids? Because she got a profile.
Right.
And then she says, yeah, your profile has 2 kids. And so you have to make them work into the budget. And then she's like, well, then I don't want kids, which is funny but that's the reality, right? You have to make those decisions. And she's like, well, I don't want to pay for car insurance. I can't afford it. I go, but you need a car, right? So they make all these decisions. What tickles me pink always is when real life meets them in the classroom and then all of a sudden it makes sense. I had the one kid who was spending a lot of money again on sneakers. And so the mentor that came with me, I asked him before I went in there, I go, is it okay if I tell these kids that you're a millionaire? And he was shy. Like, no, like,
Right.
why would, no, why would you say that? And I said, it's going to make a difference in how I engage with these kids. So he went in there and I said, oh, in front of me, they're slouched, not paying attention. I said, so right here standing next to me is a real life millionaire. And you should have seen that room. They
Boom.
perked up. They
Yeah.
paid attention. They were like, wow.
You asked me that question if you could say that when you introduced me. And I
That's
said,
right.
of course, why not? Because I understand in marketing, it's proof, right? They need like this
It's
social proof,
credibility.
it's credibility. And some people
Yeah.
think they're being arrogant. But listen,
And it's not.
it's not. It's how that's
It's
you know,
real life.
kudos to you for understanding that. That's Alex Hermosi,
Yeah.
by the way, $100 million offer. He says you got to have proof right off the bat. I insure $4
Yep.
billion in insurance. Boom, credibility, right?
Yeah.
So
Like, I'm going to pay attention. He knows what he's doing.
I love
But you know
that.
what the kid,
Yeah.
you know what the kid did afterwards? He came back when I went, because I went 4 times. He came back and he said, hey, I want to tell you something. I said, what? He goes, you asked me, because that guy, the millionaire, asked him, how many of you have jobs? And they were juniors and seniors. And some of them raised their hands. He goes, you should all have jobs. But you have 2 things. You either do sports, you do your homework, and go have a job, go do something. And so the kid, I came back and he goes, I do have a job. And he goes, I just bought $100 worth of shares in Coca-Cola. And that was his first investment. And he was all excited because here he is, right? He's making an investment. But those are $100 that he didn't blow on, on who knows what. Right. So it's kind of like, we talk about diversification and we talk about, long-term investing and we talk about all these things. This is a whole new vocabulary that these kids would have never known.
They don't get it.
And so they don't know. So the winners of the stock market challenge, which you went to, which are the top 50 that was 2,500 students were involved in that program. The top 50 teams went to that competition. So now the winners of that competitions in January, we'll start our student managed investment fund. So they will do analysis in the stock market in terms of where, and then they have to present it to a panel of judges like Shark Tank, and they have to prove why that would be a good investment. And then we give them real money that they invest, and then we track it for them for the year.
Awesome.
And so they're seeing the reality. It's not like theory or play money. It's real money that we put as part of the program that they earned to invest.
Listen, if there's an old saying, right? If everyone gets taught the same thing in school at the public school level, then you have masses that all know the same, right? And these are not part of any of the curriculums in school. By the time they figure out to do this 10 years from now, it's already too late.
You wasted time.
Right. You're wasting time. And that's the joke. Like I always say the textbooks, right? Today, learning is here, right? Whether it's online, it's YouTube, it's mentorship, it's nonprofits, it's programs, because by the time the bureaucracy of the public schools actually puts entrepreneurship in the first grade, it's too late, right? It's robots took over or something, right?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
I get it. So for me personally, I believe that every business leader in Miami, right, needs to be a part of this. So what partnerships are you looking for right now that our audience, besides we talked about mentorship, obviously you can go to the JA Miami, make that clear, right? We're serving Miami-Dade County here, biggest school, third largest school district. What other partnerships are you looking for from the business community?
I'm looking for connectors. I'm looking for people who can connect me with people who, like you, but that, people who believe in the system, who understand that it is an investment, who just who wants to leave a legacy. Corporate sponsors are always good because they kind of help us with, with our events. But funders, supporters,
and by the way, you're getting big ones.
Attend events.
When I was there at the Wall Street event, I didn't see no small sponsors. I saw Delta Airlines. I saw Citadel, right? I saw Goldman Sachs people. So these are not little companies that are sponsoring, right? And when Citicorp or whatever, Citadel steps in, they don't write checks for $550, right? So they believe in this. So go ahead.
Yes. So it's really, I'm just looking for partnerships. I really want the Miami Junior Achievement to just kind of, blow up and be a mirror of the community in terms of what it could do. And so we have so many more students that we could get to. So I'm looking for social investors, someone who will believe in what we're doing and we have a system and an infrastructure set up to scale it, and that you can see the benefits of that. Hopefully, soon we'll be talking about the new initiatives that I have coming up, where I'm looking for corporate sponsors, because we're doing, is this a good time to talk about
Yeah, go ahead.
what the
These are
next
the new,
project is? Yeah.
this is what I'm saying, right? What type of new
Yeah.
partnerships or
Yeah,
projects do you
yeah.
have? Go
So
ahead.
what we're going to do is we're going to start our Junior Achievement Finance Park, and so that's basically a fictitious economy that we're creating. Think of it as a pop-up, like a trade show, but it's going to be a fictitious economy. So the students will be learning, and this is targeted to 8th graders. The students will be learning about 12 different activities, all about personal finance and financial literacy. And then it culminates in a day at this experiential learning center. So you walk in there and it's a town, right? So you'll have banks and retails and restaurants and what makes up an economy. And then they have to exercise that. They have to go to the bank. They have to buy
Got
car
it.
insurance. They have to do whatever it is. And so that's something
This
that
is
we're
all
doing,
virtual?
this is going to be real. It's
Okay,
like,
this is real. Okay.
experiential 3D. Yeah. So a lot of junior achievements have it around the country. Some of them are permanent sites where the students go to the finance park. Some of them have what we call mobile or semi-permanent, where we go to where the schools are. We go to where the kids are. And so what I want the Miami Finance Park to look like, and we're launching this of August of 26. And what we're looking for is that the sponsor, their storefronts. So when you walk in, you're going to see Delta Airlines and, Wells Fargo and, whatever the different storefronts that we are able to secure corporate sponsorships with, that's who's going to be the industry of choice. And we have some industries that absolutely have to be part of the economy. So I'm handpicking the companies that I want represented there. So what I'm looking for is a multi-year commitment
Love
to
it.
be a storefront. And
Right.
then if you're that sponsor, your employees, your people will be the ones that will be there kind of volunteering while all of these 8th graders are coming in. We're piloting 3,000 to 5,000 students the first year,
So
8 to
Lourdes, let me
10,000 second year.
So listen, our audience base is high net worth commercial real estate investors. So let me ask you, what she's saying is she's creating a physical space, people, right? That's going to be called Miami Finance Town. Okay. And listen,
Finance Park, yeah.
I'm sorry, Miami Finance Park. Okay. So this is groundbreaking. It's the beginning. And we all know what Miami is going to be, which it's the next New York, whatever you want to call it. Right. So one day you're going to be driving around and you're going to see this thing called Miami Finance Park. This is the beginning of it. So you need a physical location, correct? Whether it's a warehouse, it's a building. That's what I'm hearing, right?
Well, that's going to be phase 2.
Okay.
When we're starting up with what we're calling the pop-up. So right now, what we're doing is we are going to be inside of school spaces. So we're going to work with the Miami schools. They're going to have a cafeteria, let's say, and we're going to go in there and we're going to do the Finance Park pop-up, and we're going to stay there for 3 months for the fall, and then have all the local schools go there, and then then we're going to pack that all up and then move that to a different part of town.
It's called bootstrapping entrepreneurship right there. I like it. Right. And you bring the park to them, right?
And we bring the park to them.
Right.
And that's going to cut out transportation and traffic.
Love it. Right. And
all of
permanent
that jazz.
structure, maintenance, insurance, taxes on a permanent structure.
Asset light.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. And I also like the name and the concept. But listen, if you're an entrepreneur and have that vision, because when she dropped that Miami Finance Park, so we're talking about an actual, community, let's call it a town, right? With a bank, a storefront, a fast food, a Delta Airlines,
car insurance,
right? All these things, bank accounts, all that, where they actually go in and become adults who are educated in the world of being an adult, meaning you have to pay the rent, you got to go to the bank, you got to pay the bills, you got to get pest control, whatever it is. And that real life hands-on experience. Now, I've seen some of the junior achievements build, these big things, but they're very costly. I like how you're nimble. It's a pop-up and it's coming to the schools. So obviously anybody in the audience that has the vision that I do, because I can see it, right? I can see it in the cafeteria, or maybe even I have friends that run like innovative events companies where they literally set up like things like at F1, right? Formula One Miami. And literally can build a 40,000 square foot temporary structure or a semi-permanent structure. Any of that, guys, can help. You can always find Lourdes on LinkedIn. She answers in a second like this. You can find her on the websites. She's all over. She's one creating this. So no, I get it. So that's the next phase, next project. Anybody out there can understand the resources that needs, whether it's financial, whether it's donations. technology,
A
whether
lot of
it's
technology.
loan some IT staff, right? I have IT staff. She'll call me and say, hey, I need this. I can immediately create her a PDF file and a PowerPoint presentation because we use AI with my IT staff, right? Like she does little reach outs like that to me on text. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get involved. Don't just think you need to sit there and write a check. And she also has an advisory board with some really heavy hitters on it where they sit and they brainstorm this. But I personally love that pop up, right?
The finance park,
The
yeah.
finance
That's
part.
really yeah, that's really neat, and it is an experiential learning center that kids will not forget that experience even when they're older. So what we're hoping to do is go into the 8th grade, and then once you have the pop-up there, so we're looking for our sponsors to commit to a multi-year, a 3-year minimum. Let's say you're going to be our signature sponsor, right? So you'll have kind of the big entryway and you'll kind of have a lot of your different things. You'll have your ribbon cutting, you have your employees. And we're looking for 5 days a week where we're going to have 8th graders coming, through our finance park. And we have the opportunity to turn that into what we call Biz Town. And that's targeted for 5th graders. So we have 5th graders, Biz Town. We have 8th graders for Finance Park. And then we have Advanced Finance Park for 10th graders. So what you could see is that we're leveraging one space, one initial cost. That's the setup. The vendors are getting, or the sponsors are getting, the 3 different audiences. Those people will come with, volunteers and with business partners. And so you get a lot of exposure. And so another thing that's working to our advantage in doing it this setup is that a lot of high schoolers, enrollment in Miami is down when it comes to high schools. And so what
Didn't know
happens is
that. Yeah.
you have 8th graders and their parents who are now next year, guess where they're going? To high school. And so if we house our finance park in a high school, guess what all of a sudden that principal has? An audience, right? They have people, they have parents, they have 8th graders. Hey, why don't you come to this high school next year when you graduate? So it's a win-win on many different levels, but the best thing is the benefits that the kids get. It's real life experience, experiential. They're going to learn how to, how to balance their budget. They're going to know how to buy a car, and they're just tooled to be successful and have what they need to carry on with whatever's next for them.
What I'm hearing is this. You are people that are listening, right? You have 2 choices. Have you ever said to yourself, they should teach this in school, right? That's what it, right? Yeah. At its core level.
Everybody.
Yeah. Everybody says it, but who actually
Yeah.
steps up and actually says, hey, let me call Lourdes, let me call Junior Cheetah of Miami, and let me help her teach this in school. And again, time is valuable, right? All of that mentorship is valuable, but you have a choice. You can be what we call in the stands, or you can be on the field, because the talk
In the
is
game.
in the game, right? On the field, because talk from the stands is cheap, right? And if you go to a Miami Heat game, or you go to what do they say? Shoot harder, or you should have caught the ball. Well, we all know that talk is cheap. And that's like saying they should teach this in school, or why don't they do this? Or why are these kids over here loitering in this park, right? All of that is, you're in the stands. But if you get in the game, you're going to hear a different language. You're going to hear things like, listen, how do we fix this? How do we plan this? Tomorrow, we're going to do a pop-up. The next day, I'm going to speak to Wall Street kids. Then I'm going to do a volunteership here. And by the way, the best thing about mentorship, right, at all levels, at kid level, kids are the simplest. You'd be shocked. If you get to them small, they're positive. They have a mindset of unbelievable, like, abundance. They don't get it when you get to them the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. That's why they have no fear. That's why they jump in the lake. That's why they ride bikes at night across the street, right? And it's not till later where they start picking up self-limiting beliefs and all that stuff. So the point is, you have the ability to make a real impact. And here's the biggest value for me. And I'm going to tell you, this is a selfish value. I am always my best when I am for others what I need for myself. So when I go into a room and start teaching on how to scale businesses, I've mentored almost 10 people to over $10 million in revenue. And by the way, the first group that I mentored, 8 people in Accelerator EO, I didn't know anything I was talking about. Right? I scaled my company with sheer will and force, right? And I got there. Then I said, I'm going to mentor 8 people to get to $1 million and then to 10 million. So what did I force myself to do? I am my best when I am for others what I need myself. Everything that I taught was just reinforcing my knowledge for myself, right? Showed me how to scale better, showed me how to be a better parent, right? Because these kids or these mentees, their biggest problem is mindset. If it's an entrepreneur who's got a baby or project, they treat it like a baby. They don't want to delegate control. They don't know how to put in systems to scale. So the point is, and then you learn how to deal with relationships, different personalities. Lourdes knows how to walk in a room and say, you're a millionaire, to get their attention, not to brag. Those are skills that you learn through mentorship. So again, are you going to sit there and say, hey, they should teach this in school? Or are you going to reach out to Junior Achievement of Miami at their website in the description below and actually do something about it, right? Because the people that do things are the 1%. And Lourdes is one of those 1%, right? Because you've heard it all right here today. She wants to bridge it. She doesn't have to be there. This woman could be running at 300-400. She has the experience. Go look on her LinkedIn page, right? She's built $100 million revenue infrastructures and stuff like that. So the point is my call to action to you today is, are you the one, right? And by the way, I've taken coaching programs, and I hired this one coach through a landmark program. She used to say to me, you're the one. Well, you're the one, Jerry, because it's a language distinction, right? And I never knew it when she kept saying to me, you're the one, you're the one. Then I took a communications course, and then at this score, I'm constantly stacking my skills because I get the most ROI from education and skills, right? And I go, why do you keep calling me the one? She goes, because you're the 1% that comes to all these classes and actually does something and executes, right? It's like going to a Tony Robbins seminar, right? Most people will go to 30 Tony Robbins seminars. They'll spend thousands of dollars and they don't do anything. But the 1%, they do it. So what I'm saying is you're looking at a 1%er right here, right? And I can give you my stats, look below. But the point is why am I here with Junior Achievement, right? And I've explained it why. Because I get just as much reward, impact. By the way, this podcast will go out, right? It'll be put out on LinkedIn. It'll be put out into our commercial circles, entrepreneurial circles. My ROI on this podcast, monetarily, I'll bet you I can measure it 4 or 5x on my reputation, on my integrity, on my business. And more people want to do business with me because I support real people like Lourdes. Values, integrity, that don't give up and get stuff done with grit, with efficiency, with real meaning, right? And that's it. So I just want entrepreneurs that don't get that, and they're still working to be, the richest guy buried in their Rolls Royce or the richest woman in the neighborhood or in the graveyard, right? What's it for? What's it all really for? So I'm calling you people out, right? And I've just explained to you, right, that my ROI on my business, I can measure it. The more I volunteer with good people and good organizations like her, because everyone knows I always start one of my shows. I don't bring anybody on here that has bad values, no integrity, or isn't on a mission to serve to some degree. And by the way, same with YPO and EO. We don't want the richest people in the room. We want people, our core values are give back, right? And what we've learned from the universe, God, whatever plan you want to call it, is the more value you create with integrity, giving back, watch, my business will grow 3x just for choosing Lourdes and Junior Achievement to be on this podcast, to support our organization, to mentor. By the way, when I left the Wall Street event, I got 2 Goldman Sachs guys' phone numbers, right? They came right up to me and said, hey, are you familiar with us? And I'm looking to recruit those guys, right? Because they're at the event and they believe in what I believe. You get it?
Right.
And I'm trying to get them away from their company because I want their family offices. So there's so much more than what you think at surface level, right? Yeah, you can go to Junior Achievement of Miami. You can donate $100. Yeah, you can be a corporate sponsor. But the more, and by the way, Entrepreneurs Organization, YPO, they're all nonprofits, all of them, on a different mission. They bridge the need for entrepreneurs, right? Or scaling businesses. She's doing it at kid level at the 3rd largest school district in the country. So with that being said, Lourdes, obviously tell them where they can reach you as well. But the final call, if someone's listening and they're on the fence, what's the one thing you want them to understand? Because I just gave my rant, right? Off of this episode, and then leave it where do they reach you and how do they find you?
Okay. Do your due diligence. There's a lot of watchdog organizations that do rate nonprofits. And so there are some bad apples that might have created some areas of distrust, but know the nonprofit that you get to know the CEO, get to know the chairman, get to know what they stand. What are their numbers? What are their stats? What is their rate of their return? How much of every dollar goes back into the programs? And so those are all a lot of different credibility things that you can take. We are a five-star, a gold star in terms of Candid, which is a kind of it used to be called Charity Navigator or Guide Star, but that's basically where they rate in terms of transparencies, deliverables, fiduciary responsibilities, impact, and all those things. So you can really do your own homework. But get to know the nonprofit. Reach out to me. You can reach out to me, yes, on LinkedIn, Lourdes Little, Lourdes de la Mata Little. You can go to our website, just Google me. Anyway, email is good. I'm always very good about email, and we'll get to know each other. Like Jerry says, it doesn't have to start off with a check. It starts off with whatever is important to you. I have pickleball events. I have golf events. I have a lot of different things that I have women events. I have dinner clubs that you might want to host something and invite some of your network because you believe in what we do. And so I have something for everybody. A high net worth individual said to me, I said to him, what are you looking for? I go, I need 10 people that can write me $100,000 checks. And he chuckles. He goes, I know those people. And I said, great, let's get them to write those checks, right? Because that will put me so much more in advance in putting the systems in place so that I can scale. And that's what I want to do. I want to grow it, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, whatever it is, because what that means is that I'm helping more kids. And like 77% of the kids we serve live below the poverty line,
Right.
of the kids that we serve. And we are just scratching the surface. I have another corporate sponsor who says, we really want to make an impact in a particular zip code. So I looked up at that zip code. There are 18 schools in that zip code. We are in 8 of them. And he's like, I'm going to give you this amount of money as a sponsorship. And I want to show impact in more schools in that zip code. No problem. We get our education team. We go to the principals. Because we have that relationship with the school systems, we don't have to jump through hoops. We go to the principal. Hey, we have this program. Do you want in? Yep, we're in. Next day, we're in.
No, I love
so
what
we
you
can
said.
make that kind of impact.
No, and you just proved your ROI. So basically what she's telling you guys and girls out there is check her out. Number one, see their integrity, see where the dollar goes, right? Follow the money, see how much of the impact. Also, she's saying they have the ability to say, hey, you make a direct investment as a sponsor for this. Here's the ROI with metrics. Lourdes doesn't talk like a school teacher. She talks like an entrepreneur scaling to $100 million, right? And you heard her here. I can hear it. ROI. You want metrics. You want to see our integrity, follow the dollars, see the impacts of the programs. So the point is I wouldn't have anybody on the show, right? That it's just like, I don't even know how to phrase it because it's so cool to see you're just like us, like me. Right?
Yeah. That's why I call it social entrepreneurialism or social investing.
Right.
But yeah, it's really metrics, and we're really changing the way we deliver our results because it's outcomes based. Right. So that's what we're looking at. It's kind of like in the long run, listen, what we want to do is we want to make the American dream attainable to all students. And that's how we do it. And so I need people behind me to help me get this work done. Right. I need teachers. I need educators. I need more volunteers. I need money. I need systems. I need technology. I'm like, someone said to me, you're like a Ferrari, like roaring in the garage that I need to get out onto the street. I'm ready.
Well, and I said, obviously, you see that she comes from the corporate world, right? So look her up on LinkedIn and things like that. The other thing is we have several family audiences we have several family offices that are our clients out there. They have foundations. So I know some of you are listening because you're our clients, right? There it is. And they have little documents that they can donate and stuff like that. Feel free to organize an event for her. Reach out to me because Premier is with her for the next 12 months or more, right? So we've decided to choose Junior Achievement and Lourdes, and really because she's the driver. She's kick booty, whatever you want to call it, without swearing. She's badass, and you guys can see that, and you girls can see that. So join me with her over the next 12, 16 months, maybe more. Who knows? Maybe when she's ready to retire. We'll see what happens. But, right? And let's help her scale. Let's get her going. Let's impact these kids. And again, my last words are going to be to you. Get out of the stands and get in the game. Why? In the end, even this, you're going to benefit the most. And that's it. That's right. All right. Lourdes, you're a rock star. Thanks for being on Real Estate Podcast.